Click the links for Odysee, BitChute, support channel on Coffee, or to join the channel and get a shiny, colorful icon. So the Cancel Culture Club is bearing some very strange fruit. This is about cancel culture and the alt-left kids using fear to control the cattle. And this, I originally started talking about this because of the Matt Damon thing and the Digimon thing, but then this came up, but it's all related. They are terrified of the concept of due process, redress of grievance, a conclusion, and then moving on. I think maybe a sociologist could come up with better terms for that, or they probably already exist. But I mean it like this. The left doesn't want to come to a conclusion and move on, because when they do, they give up the power if they do, which is why you never apologize to an SJW or admit any wrongdoing, because you will never reach a satisfaction and accord with Marxists. There will always be one more to pop out of the woodwork, and once you admit culpability, well, then you've given them a lever to work on you. They will always hold it over your head if you concede ground, so don't. Essentially, with the alt-left, an injury is ongoing. There never is a statute of limitations. The court of public opinion is forever. You're better off telling them to kiss your ass or simply not comment on something so insulting. Like, this allegation comes out. Your response might be, I couldn't possibly comment on an unfounded allegation that is so insulting to everything that I am. This is, of course, ridiculous. They want to hold people accountable for things other people did 150 years ago, but not hold people responsible for their current behavior. Nothing they do is logical. The left wing is either the useful idiots or the ones who are manipulating the useful idiots. And if you're on the left, decide which one you are. A society that can't reach a conclusion on an issue and then move on is going to be very inefficient. Plus, anyone in the public eye is living in constant fear of being destroyed. And ultimately, it's not freedom. You're not living your life with all your rights to liberty. You're living under the tyranny of a crowd of sociopathic Bolsheviks who are repressing you in the place of the government. That the Bill of Rights covers the government, but it doesn't cover this Twitter crowd. If Twitter can destroy you and oppress you as powerfully as the state, then the Bill of Rights is meaningless. What cancel culture is people to the left of the bell curve with the inability to delay gratification, who are having some short-term dopamine, but not looking at the future health of the country. It's a non-stop mob of really slow people who are stimulus response. There is no pause to reflect. And to be fair to these dumb people, our elected officials are completely worthless. Yes, all of them, left or right. They could pass an anti-political discrimination law. They could fight to make social media a public platform where you've got free speech. They could make businesses not discriminate based on political or religious beliefs. There are things that they could have done to start the ball rolling on fighting back against this pernicious influence of social media, but they've done nothing this whole time. Don't get me wrong. I know what this is deck chairs on the Titanic. It's trying to control a society by litigation and not by a shared tribal blood and ideology. And any judicial morality is doomed to fail. A diverse society requires a lot of laws to control things that a homogeneous society takes for granted, which requires more money and time spent in a legal system. You can't legislate morality. It turns out that diversity is actually a weakness. It results in a lower trust society where people don't volunteer or help each other. The best solution is quite the logical one. It's a simple separation. Even the New York Times had an article 15 years ago studying diverse neighborhoods, and their conclusion is probably not a conclusion that would be reached in current year. It was all bad. Let me ask this Malissa a question regarding her long-term strategy. She made a claim about some guy 3 years ago in a restaurant Are people going to be more likely to work with you after this? Ignore the veracity of the claim for now. Just analyze your future. Will people want to work with you more or less? Look at it this way. You didn't mention some accolade, some prize, some new project that you were so excited to be working on. Your only claim to fame is what sounds like you wanted to have sex with this guy, you wanted to bang this guy's brains out, and he picked some other girl that night. So then you claim, while he was at a restaurant with a table full of women, he made sexist and racist comments in 2018 in front of all those women. This happened in 2018, allegedly. That's not exactly 1818. You're saying that this guy was cool with a pretty black girl enough to take her to this dinner party, but then he said something offensive, but you're not clear on the details of what he said, just that he needs to be destroyed over it 4 years later. So are you going to be more or less likely, are people going to be more or less likely to work with you now? Do you think people are going to want to talk to you or invite you on those convention dinners? I guess the logic is that you were a nobody before this on Twitter. You had less than 2,000 followers. That is a very small social media footprint, probably because you're really boring. So you're gambling that Marvel is going to give you a phone call. Right now, she's got a year-old Kickstarter comic that is sitting at $7,000. But your Twitter following is going to blow up for like a week after this until it flatlines again, because you're probably really boring if you've been on Twitter for a few years and you've only got 2,000 followers. Marvel might give you a call. You can't write. I read one of your writings online. I archived it. But that's perfect for Marvel because nobody actually reads Marvel. I think they just buy it like college kids buy it to Virtue Signal, possibly. So if Marvel calls, you'll get something that brings in a couple of $1,000s a month for 6 months before it gets canceled. But then you'll have that writing credit to your name, which it sounds cool, but in 2021, 22, it's not worth as much as it used to be. In fact, it's not worth very much at all. Like, fundamentally, you have to write. Otherwise, you're in Vita Ayala territory of, oh, hey, 6 issues canceled, 6 issues canceled. It's like, it's just deck chairs on the Titanic. So you're going to be known as the girl who destroyed someone's career over an allegation 4 years ago at some drunken dinner party. This Frank Gogol guy is done in the mainstream forever, which I assume he's a left-wing guy, so it's hard to get that worked up over it. I mean, the principle still remains. You gotta stick to the principles. And some people in his comments were telling him never apologize to SJWs. Frank blocked them. Here's the thing. If you're on the left and you get canceled, you're done. Where are you going to go? The left operates on a strict hierarchy, but woman of color is at the top. So if you're a fair-skinned child of Europe, you're always going to be their bitch. So why are you there in the first place? They don't want equality. They want mastery. I think a lot of liberals of fair countenance actually meant well. But now that they see that this identity politics beast that they helped create is turning on them, and it's starting to consume them, and it will definitely consume their children and grandchildren, which begs the question, why are you still on the left at all? The left creates this world of different identity power groups, black, Jewish, Muslim, Spanish, Asian, but for some reason they never take part in the European identity movement. This is just game theory 101. Even if you don't care about this stuff or you think it was kind of cringe a few years ago, you're going to quickly follow this game theory explanation. If you divide people into groups that advocate and advance their own interests, but you don't get tribal and advance your group's interests, you will get left behind. People need to really think about that concept. Argue both sides in your head. You are left with a conclusion that if you're a moderate or liberal will surprise you, because the media schools in Hollywood have been pushing something else for the past 70 years. They've been lying this whole time. This whole American diversity experiment has failed. This is one tiny example, but it's one out of countless examples. It shows you what kind of people and situations are dangerous to your career. Think ahead to the next convention. Who is looking to go out to dinner together after, and who's just not going to get the invitation? Guys are looking at other guys get their careers ruined based on an allegation from years ago. Do you think men in any industry are going to invite girls who look like you to any dinner parties ever? The risk isn't worth it. All you're doing is proving Mike Pence, of all people, correct. Malissa White doesn't know how a society functions. Small slings and arrows must be overlooked or handled privately. A mixed society can't function if people are afraid to mix. I mean, it can't function as a mixed society. So pick what direction you want to go in with this. The highest person on the oppression ladder is a woman of color. There is zero incentive for a person of the light, especially a male, to have any dealings with them whatsoever if they can simply lie and make a claim that destroys your life. You're creating an America where European Americans have to avoid POCs for their own safety. If you can destroy this guy 4 years later without any proof, then guys who look like him are going to avoid girls who look like you like the plague. Even if the guys are left-wing, you are simply too dangerous. This Frank Gogol guy is panicking, and he's doing everything wrong right now. It's probably only a second before he locks down his account, which he should have done a long time ago. He's a left-wing guy, so he thought that this was inconceivable, but, I don't think you know what that word means. If you never saw The Princess Bride, he's doing this long tweet thread where he denies the events, but he also says to believe all women and marginalized people. And then he apologizes that he hurt her feelings, but he didn't do what she claims, and he's very clear on that it was a fabrication. So why are you apologizing and saying believe women? But this woman is lying. It's a binary. You are scared to death to have to just come out as a leftist and say that the statement, the mantra of believe women is a false statement. It is a material misrepresentation of the truth. You deny the events that this Malissa White claimed to have happened. Thus, she is lying. That is your one-sentence response. Make it crystal clear that either you believe in the concept of due process or you don't, and you go back to the days of witch hunts, which is where we are right now. Her version of events is a lie, most likely that she is going to use to advance her career while destroying yours. That's your statement. Dear Frank Gogol, your left-wing ideology just destroyed you. You are done with the left. They are done with you forever. Just do the work. Well, if you claim it didn't happen, there's nothing to do. You don't apologize. You can't apologize. There's nothing to do but to say, no, never happened. She's lying to advance her career and move on. The left is done with you. And now is the time to look at all the people who abandoned you and supported her. Her account's blowing up and his is shrinking. They supported her over a 4-year unfounded allegation. She's not just one idiot. This is the left wing. They do not believe in due process. You are a fair-skinned guy, and I'm sure 4 years ago they were both good-looking young people. Listen, if you're a fair-skinned guy, do you think your word will ever be equal to a woman of color's word? Will you ever get due process in a case of he said versus she said? Let's try saying that fast. If you're on the left, think that through. If you're of European origin, think that through. You're not treated equally now. You will never, if in a case like this, you saw the evidence is before you. They instantly abandoned you without evidence and took her side, including people. Gail Simone, I think Vida Ayala commented. They instantly took her side without any evidence whatsoever. If you're on the left and you're not of a purse puppy protected class, what are you doing on the left? Think. People on the right are not the monsters that the media has been portraying them as. Some are. I mean, there are monsters. That's the truth of the matters. Yeah, there are monsters across the spectrum, across the colors, across every human on earth, across every ideology. There are saints, angels, and demons everywhere. But the left has set up this thing where they say, oh, no. Hashtag believe women. Hashtag believe marginalized people. That's a nonsense statement. That's so insanely illogical. It's like, where has that worked? Oh, never. Anyway, well, this is a long video. Like, comment, subscribe, join the channel, and oh, I cut my. Join the channel, and you'll get an icon or support my vitally important work on coffee. I'm doing the Lord's work. All right, guys. I'll see you next episode.